Greetings and salutations to our fine podcast audience. Welcome to 3 Ps in a Pod, episode 216 minus 1. I haven't said that before.
So it's 215?
No.
I got
minusing
back.
from
You're
the
back
three.
to three Ps. Yes,
I should have said 3 minus 1 Ps in a pod. I didn't say it right.
No, it's okay. You probably said it fine.
Should we reshoot that?
No, I probably was not fully focusing until you could
wasn't
tell you paused.
It's obvious I wasn't focusing. But
Right.
I was trying to
Nathan's
think.
not here.
Again, Nathan's not. But we teased that last week. If you watched last week, this is hopefully our final episode.
We'll be
minus
glad
Nathan.
to have him back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we need all 3 Ps in the pod.
To make it a full pod.
That's right.
What does make a pod? Is there a quota that you have to make a pod?
I don't know. I've seen.
And is it 3?
I have spent time shelling peas. as a young man, that was a part of family time, shelling peas.
That was not a question that came up.
No.
I'm guessing
Whatever
not.
was in the pod. Sometimes there'd be 1 pea in a pod.
And you take it.
You'd take it, be happy. Oh, look at that great little pea.
That's right.
There are typically 8 peas in a pod.
Oh, Charlie
look at
got the
Charlie.
internet going.
If you didn't hear him, he said there's 8 in a
Okay.
pod. So Charlie's on. He's the Google master back there. He's
Exactly.
just Googling. So typically 8. So we're way short.
We're
on a
way
pod.
short.
Yeah, every week we're short. Well, everybody.
We're
knew
5 peas short of a pod.
that. And that's good to know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, like I said, hopefully just one more week minus Nathan. I'm kind of wishing he was here for this question because this is going to get maybe a little spicy.
Spicy.
We'll see because it's political. It's dangerous waters you tread when you go political in our world. today.
Yeah, particularly in the United States right
Yes,
now. I
yes.
guess maybe everywhere. I've only lived in the United
That's
States.
all I know.
That's
That's all I know. But that's the way
I
it
just
is.
know currently in our world, everything is just hard.
So I think here's the original question, and you'll see where I'm going to go with this when I ask the question. So the question that was sent in to us was this: Does the Bible say that life begins at conception? So they wanted us to have a conversation, obviously, about the abortion issue. So I wanted to say before we jump into this, we've already answered this question pretty much, actually more than once.
Maybe people were unsatisfied with it.
Well,
or they don't know.
but the thing is I don't have much else to say that we haven't already said in other podcasts. So here's what I would say to the person: if you're really interested in having that question answered and you didn't know this already, go back to episodes 52 and 113.
So about every 50 episodes,
Yeah.
you know,
So I guess we came at it from 2 different angles there, but looking back, I don't know if there's much more we can say about that. So episodes 52 and 113 get into the specifics of that issue if you're interested in getting that answer. But what I thought would be a better discussion, because this was asked in such a way, tends to be that the abortion issue is one of the primary Christian political issues. And so it may be because we never have really had this conversation in this way before. How involved should we as Christians or the church be involved in these political issues in our day? Where do we stand? Where are we supposed to be on those kinds, or is there supposed to be? I guess we can start there.
well, politics is about politics is just how we as people get along with each other. I mean, literally that's what it's about. How do we collectively, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't remember the root of the word, though I did know it one time in my life. It's really about, it's impossible not to be involved in politics if you're going to be involved with people.
Yeah.
Now, if you mean the political system and voting and all of that, I'll say this. I think the Bible doesn't give much guidance on it because it didn't exist in a world where voting and the kind of system we have existed. It just didn't exist.
It didn't know anything about a
It didn't know,
democracy.
so
to speak.
it would have been impossible for the Bible. It would have been writing words that meant nothing to anybody who received the words, which the Bible doesn't do, which I'll remind those of you when you read Revelation.
Oh,
That book is not writing words that didn't mean something to somebody at the time.
There you go.
So let's just say that.
Yep.
So it doesn't say anything about it, but there's a real privilege in being able to be a part of something where you can determine, you can help determine the shape of things. And as Christians, I think whatever right we have, whatever privilege we have, we should see it as a stewardship to be used for the benefit of others.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I that's the only way I can understand the Christianity in light of the world in general, that my whole life and every gift I receive, I have been blessed to be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to look at every right, every gift I have, not primarily for what's best for me, but what is best for people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I assume everybody that comes down on the side that says life begins at conception, because we've talked about that, but
yeah, we have.
If that's probably not the best way to even ask that question, because again, the Bible the people the Bible is addressed to couldn't have conceived of another answer.
Yeah.
So it's not addressed really.
Yeah, it's not.
You know what I mean? It's not addressed.
Mm-hmm.
There are things in there where you can get to an answer.
Absolutely.
But when somebody asks the question that way, does the Bible say life begins at conception?
I wouldn't say anything about it.
It doesn't say anything. So I can say, no, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But
you can also make a case that it says yes.
I can say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if every right that I have, I want to use for the benefit of people, well, that helps me get to that answer as well.
That's right.
But it also helps me, it doesn't necessarily help me decide who to vote for, because there are so many other issues that the people who are leading our country deal with that also have an impact on people.
Yes.
And potentially, not just potentially, this has been my experience the whole time of voting, some people who I would agree with on the abortion issue, I totally disagree on the way they want to handle other people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what I would say to every Christian when it comes to politics, it is, well, and this is true if I was a senator or Congress, politics is always the art of compromise.
Yeah.
I am
even as a voter.
As a voter,
I have to compromise.
I am compromised.
Yeah. Until they put Jesus Christ on the ballot.
Right. And he would then be right on every issue, which means he could not be for either party.
Mm-mm. Yep.
Because
wait a minute, Ed.
I'm just saying, they're just clearly things that, we could go down by the line on either platform and say, okay, that's clearly the way that the Bible talks about that issue. Yeah. But then you go to the very next same party on another thing and you go, yeah, that is not the way the Bible would talk about that. And then I have to get down to, I guess, everybody has to draw their own lines of where is the most harm being done.
Yeah.
And I have to get really clear about, am I, the big thing in the United States has always been, I just remember Bill Clinton's advisors always saying, it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
If it's just the economy for Christians.
Well, and when we say the economy, what most people mean is, how's it affecting my
economy,
my bank account?
If that's where I'm going to compromise, and the tipping point for my vote is on my economy, that's a dangerous place to be.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm not telling I'm just saying it's always a compromise. Neither party gets everything right. And they don't either one get everything wrong.
That's right. And it's always been, for as long as I can remember, when I became a voting age, it was everybody would always say, well, you just got to find the lesser of two evils. So does that mean I'm voting for evil either way?
Yeah. Well, to a degree, I'm compromising. But for me, the way I try to look at it is I'm looking for the most good.
Yeah.
I'm trying
to. So that's different to me.
It is. And it's not a one button issue. I really have to balance a whole bunch of issues of where is the most. So.
And then what do you do with, because I think for me, and this is just me, I'm not saying anybody has to adopt this philosophy, but for me, character plays a part in that as well.
Of course it does.
I mean, well, I don't know, Ed. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was becoming a voter, all right, that was in the 90s. When I was becoming a voter, I was told by my Christian brothers and sisters that character mattered. And so that's why I couldn't vote for a certain person, because he had really bad character.
Right.
Well, today I hear a lot of Christians saying differently. They say, well, we're not voting for a pastor, so character is not as important as the issues. So it fluxes. I mean, I'm not saying one's right, one's wrong. I'm just saying that's the way it has gone over the past generation or two.
That's right.
It has shifted some to where a lot of Christians' philosophies have changed on that issue.
Oh, yeah.
So, but for me,
well, on all kinds of issues, because if we look historically, even on this issue of abortion, and this isn't hard to figure out because it hasn't been that long, pre-Roe versus Wade in the 70s, because I read a bunch of books on this to try to, this was most people who are like me and you who are Protestants.
Yep.
Protestants didn't have a problem. It was only Catholics that had a problem.
Up until the 70s.
Up until the 70s.
That's right.
And then you really got to trace when it became a Protestant problem and what the people who made it a problem really were trying to accomplish. I'm not going to tell you all that, because some of you would be really mad if I told you what the real behind the scenes that they've revealed, what they were trying to do with the abortion issue. I still believe my ideas on abortion, I can't help but have been shaped by what I've learned over the last, and the science and all of that. I can't help but be shaped by it. So what we said in those episodes, I still believe.
Yeah.
But politics is politics, and people will use things that we believe against us to get us to mask over other things that we probably
It's why, when it comes down to it, how I wind up voting in the current system that I live in. I can't get. I mean, it's just what I was born into. This American way of voting. How I come to that question that you said, and I think is a really good question. What will do the most good? Because either way, it's a balancing act.
Right. That's right.
Is a very personal journey that you've got to figure out.
Yeah, and if you have a group of people you can talk it through with, and really that'd be a good thing for people to experience, is if you can find some people that agree with you and disagree with you, and you all could talk it through in a Christian way.
Yes.
You would probably figure out how to get better at where you want to be on voting. And really where you wind up isn't as important as how you wound up there.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be cross-shaped, so I'm giving up my rights for the sake of others.
Yep.
I'm trying to advance the most good for everyone, not just me, not just my family, not just my bottom line, not just my 401k.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the most good for the most people, so that the people that I have influence with, which my vote's a little bit of influence, very little appears. very, very, very little, but it's the system.
But it's something.
It's a part that people who don't have the right to do it would love to have.
Absolutely.
They would love to have. So I can't take that for granted. So I've come a long way on this in my lifetime. I don't want to get too much into, where I wind up on things, because I'm all over the ticket, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, for me, as I've grown up and and in the understanding Jesus and developing my relationship with him, anytime that I have felt like I was in lockstep with somebody, it often disturbs me, because I feel like the more I get to know Jesus, the more I realize that, like you said earlier, that he's not found in either side of the aisle, either party, in our country at least. You're not going to find a party that fully aligns with the values of Jesus. So I've got to swim in that water and wrestle with that imbalance and figure it out for myself, because it's not going to be done for me.
That's right.
It's not going to be handed to me in that. And I think what I think is dangerous is when a lot of Christians they find that, and let's be honest, abortion has been that issue for a lot of Christians, is, well, whoever's going to side with what I think about abortion, I'm going with them. and then they don't think about anything else.
That's right.
And
Well,
I get where that comes from, and I really do. But for me, I wonder, is that it? I mean, or should I be thinking more about this?
yeah.
Is there more to it than that?
Yeah.
To do what you said, do the most good
for the most people.
for the most people.
What I can do for the most people, most good for the most people, that's the stewardship that I have the responsibility for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hard, convoluted thing.
Yeah.
My experience has been that when people start talking to you, when politicians start talking to Christians, you probably should discount everything they say.
Mm.
Every time that they start, I'm going to do this for Christians, man, it just frustrates me because often the things they say they want to do for me, I don't want done for me. I don't.
Well, it's usually a version of what they think you want to hear,
That's right.
what they think your values really are.
That's right. And so I know that they're doing for me what they're also doing for the auto workers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just another voting block for them.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's not, I'm not the same as them. I'm not looking for self-interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Well, and it's maybe a whole nother track we don't want to go now, but Jesus didn't come to take over a government
No.
and to rule in the way that our political
He
system
certainly
is
had
set up.
opportunities
He
to.
did.
And
And had a lot of people that would have been on board for that.
He chose not to.
And he chose not to. And so anything that leads us and tempts us with that sort of dangling carrot of, hey, come this way and we'll take over this, and that to me leads me away from the priorities and the ways of Jesus in itself.
Yeah, every time the church gets entangled with the government, the church is what loses. The church does very much better when it is the power that is pushing on the government to do what the government would not do. But when the church entwines itself with government power to try to make all the people do what they think God wants,
Mm-hmm.
the church loses what makes it the church.
And Jesus knew that, and the way we know he knew that is because when he was given that opportunity by the devil in the temptation in the desert, he turned it down.
That's right.
Because that was what he was offered.
That's
I'll
right.
give you all the kingdoms of this world. You can have power over
That's right.
every one of them. And Jesus said no.
Yeah, and there's another place in John 5 or 6 where it says he knew that they wanted to make him king by force.
Exactly.
And he chose to talk to them in such a way that many of them left and followed him no more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
Uh,
anybody that's interested in that mission is not interested in Jesus.
You've already understood that's not what to do. So how involved should the church be? Well, the church is just the people make up. It's just the body of Christians. So Christians should be very involved in using the influence they have
Mm-hmm.
for the most good for the most amount of people
Mm-hmm.
in their culture. And, the way the church wound up having the most influence in our culture in the early part of the church was they had to be subversive, and
Yeah.
that they had to do all the things they had to do it in spite of the government.
Mm-hmm.
We have the right sometimes in this country that the government aligns with us, and we can
Sometimes.
just partnership with them
Mm-hmm.
in things. But we should never think that we can get the government to do what we should do.
Because remember, our history, when the church was being birthed into the Roman world in the first century, it was a common thing for children to be killed that were unwanted.
That's right.
And so the Christians could have stood up and said, well, let's overthrow Rome because they've got this issue wrong. Instead, they went out and saved the kids.
That's right.
And so I say all that to say, in our culture, I know there are some wonderful organizations and some wonderful Christians who are out there doing very similar work
That's right.
today, trying to save lives of children, born and unborn,
That's right.
and doing it in such a way where would they like to have some political things move in their favor? Maybe, yes. But in the meantime, what can I do to save the most people,
Yeah, that's
do the
right.
most good? And they're working within that system, becoming the hands and feet of Jesus to help with that issue. And for that, I say that's where the church ought to be.
That's where the church ought to be.
Right? Because that sounds to me, that looks to me more like Jesus and the early church.
Well, yeah, and it is solving a problem that culture, I mean, ultimately, I haven't met people, despite what people would say if you just talk about abortion. I don't know I don't know people on either side that, and I know some people will reject this, that want more abortions.
Not many.
No, I don't know people who go, you know what I want? I want more abortions.
Those are very rare.
That's right. Everybody would like there to be there'd be less need for them.
Yes.
So the church could work on the need side. Why?
Oh, yeah.
We could figure out, and not the things the politicians say to us of the reason why. Talk to some people that are in a place where they're thinking about that issue. Figure out why are you considering this, and maybe we can solve those issues one at a time, instead of trying to do something with legislation that probably isn't going to solve the problem.
And see, right there, what you just said to me, we talked about this as well on this podcast. Instead of power over someone to make something happen, that sounds more like power under.
Yeah, let me see how I can
help you and support you. And we've talked about that many times, that the power Jesus talked about that we have is power to come underneath.
That's right.
To support instead of power ruling over.
Yeah, we come in weakness. I don't know what your issue is. I don't know why this is happening. I want to believe the best about you. I don't think you just got pregnant and want to kill a baby.
Yeah.
I want to figure out how I can help you. How can I support you? Maybe if that's just on that issue, maybe that's where we should be playing our cards. Not that we shouldn't vote. I'm not saying
that's right.
I'm not saying it's not a voting issue. Don't hear me say that.
Yes.
I'm just saying it isn't the only issue. You are compromising on other things to potentially get what you want. That eventually will cost you something that you won't have paid the cost for.
Yeah. And there are ways to be like Jesus that may look different than what you thought they looked.
That's right.
Right? It's not the only way.
That's right.
So
I don't know if we got it there. I'm okay with what we had to say.
Me too.
I don't feel controversial, though I have no doubt it will be to some.
Anytime you speak the way of Jesus, I think it's going to be controversial on some level for some people.
So we'd be happy to talk to you about it. You ask a question about it again. I promise we try not to shy away from it. If you come at it in a way that we can try to handle, we'll try to handle it.
Yeah. And like I said, go to those other episodes if you want more pointed, direct conversation about that issue. We just didn't feel like it was a need to just jump into it again. Episodes 52, 113. You'll find it there. All right. Next week, we hope Nathan will be back.
Nathan will be back.
And then you and I can just stop talking as much.
A little bit, and we'll hear more about the patient ferment.
And his children.
Yes, that's right.
He always works in a story about his kids.
He's the only one that, you still have some children at home, but they're not the same place.
It's different. It's just different.
It's different when they're young.
And it just hit me. He was talking about what Nathan brings to the podcast. I think we went 3 weeks without a Dallas Willard quote.
Ooh. That's a shame.
It is a shame.
We both also love Dallas Willard.
We do. But, maybe Nathan's absence influenced us in other ways. We don't know.
That's true.
We'll see. But I'm going to think about that next week.
We're going to miss week. Dallas.
D. Willie.
I can't say that.
I know.
I can't.
That's why I said
it. I can't say that.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. So that's it for this week. We will see you guys next time. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.